In the desolate silence of an alien world, where ancient secrets sleep among the ruins of a forgotten civilization, one man's discovery will change everything. A mysterious girl with unimaginable powers, a terrible truth buried in the stars, and a choice that could save humanity or doom it forever. What happens when two lonely souls from different worlds must unite against a common enemy? The answers lie beyond the veil of time, among the echoes of a dying civilization. Subscribe now to uncover the truth of the stars. The wind howled across the barren landscape, carrying with it the fine red dust that had settled over the ruins for millennia. Dr. Marcus Hale adjusted his environmental suit's visor, squinting at the intricate carvings that adorned the crumbling walls before him. 12 years of searching through the galaxy's forgotten corners had led him here, to this desolate planet orbiting a dying star. The archaeological community had dismissed these ruins as natural formations, but Marcus knew better. The symmetry was too perfect, the patterns too deliberate to be anything but artificial. His boots crunched against the ancient stone as he moved deeper into the complex, his handheld scanner buzzing softly with each new discovery. The architecture defied conventional understanding, massive structures that seemed to float despite their apparent weight, surfaces that shimmered like liquid metal under his light. But it was the symbols that captivated him most. They pulsed faintly, responding to his presence in ways that made his scientific mind race with possibilities. Each glyph seemed to tell a story, a fragment of a language that had been lost to time. Marcus paused, running his gloved fingers over a particularly intricate carving. It depicted what appeared to be a great migration, beings of light moving across the stars, guided by some unseen force. He couldn't help but wonder if this was a record of the civilization's history or perhaps a mythological account of their origins. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. What if these ruins held the key to understanding not just one extinct species, but the very fabric of galactic history? As he continued his exploration, Marcus noticed something unusual. The air around him seemed to hum faintly, a vibration that resonated deep within his chest. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was undeniable. He checked his equipment, but none of his instruments registered any anomalies. Still, the sensation persisted, growing stronger as he ventured further into the ruins. It was as if the place itself was alive, watching him, waiting for something. The first sign that he wasn't alone came as a subtle shift in the air pressure. Marcus paused, his trained ears detecting the faintest whisper of movement behind him. He turned slowly, his heart pounding against his ribcage. There, partially concealed by a collapsed pillar, stood a figure unlike anything he'd ever seen. Her skin glowed with an inner light, shifting through hues of silver and blue, and her eyes held galaxies within them. She watched him with an expression that was equal parts curiosity and caution. "Who are you?" Marcus asked, his voice trembling despite his attempt to sound calm. The creature, no, the woman, tilted her head, studying him as one might examine an interesting specimen. When she finally spoke, her words formed directly in his mind rather than through sound. "I am Elira, last of the Valkyrie." Her mental voice carried the weight of countless generations, and Marcus felt the burden of extinction pressing down on his shoulders. Elira stepped forward cautiously, her movements graceful yet deliberate. She seemed to glide rather than walk, her feet barely touching the ground. Marcus instinctively took a step back, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm Dr. Marcus Hale," he said aloud, though he suspected she could hear his thoughts just as clearly. "I'm an archaeologist. I didn't mean to intrude." Her gaze softened slightly, though she remained wary. "You are human," she observed, her tone neutral. "Your kind has come to our worlds before." Marcus frowned, unsure whether to take her statement as an accusation or a simple observation. "Not me," he replied quickly. "I've spent my life studying ancient civilizations. I had no idea anyone still lived here." For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, two beings from vastly different worlds trying to make sense of their unexpected encounter. Marcus couldn't help but marvel at her appearance. Her hair shimmered like liquid mercury, cascading down her back in waves that seemed to move independently of gravity. Her clothing, if it could even be called that, appeared to be woven from light itself, shifting and changing with every movement. Finally, Elira broke the silence. "Why have you come here?" she asked, her mental voice tinged with suspicion. Marcus hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I was drawn to these ruins," he admitted. "They're unlike anything I've ever seen. I wanted to understand who built them and why they were abandoned." Elira's expression darkened, and Marcus felt a wave of sadness emanating from her. "Abandoned?" she echoed bitterly.
No.
"Destroyed. My people did not leave willingly." Elira's story unfolded in fragments, like pieces of a shattered mirror slowly coming together. The Valkyrie had been masters of technology so advanced it appeared magical to other species. Their civilization had spanned hundreds of worlds, their culture rich with art and knowledge. But then came the Purge, a systematic extermination carried out by a shadowy empire known only as the Dominion. Marcus listened intently, his scientific detachment warring with growing horror as she described entire worlds reduced to ash, ancient knowledge wiped away in flashes of antimatter fire. Her people's greatest achievement had been the harmonic network, a vast system of interconnected devices that could manipulate fundamental forces of the universe. But with the fall of the Valkyrie, the network had fallen silent, its components scattered across the galaxy. Elira had survived because she had been in cryogenic stasis during the final assault, hidden away in what had once been their most sacred temple. As she spoke, Marcus began to notice subtle changes in her demeanor. Her glow dimmed slightly, and her voice, though still clear in his mind, carried a note of profound grief. "I woke up alone," she confessed. "Everything I knew, everyone I loved, gone. The Dominion left nothing behind." Marcus felt a lump form in his throat. He had always been fascinated by the mysteries of the past, but this was something else entirely. This wasn't just history, it was tragedy on a cosmic scale. "How did they find you?" he asked gently. "Surely they would have searched every corner of your world." Elira shook her head. The temple was protected by ancient wards, barriers that masked its presence even from their sensors. "But they knew we existed. They always know." Her words sent a chill down Marcus's spine. There was something ominous about the way she said they, as if the Dominion was more than just a military force. It was a force of nature, relentless and unstoppable. Despite her initial mistrust, Elira seemed willing to share more. She explained that the Valkyrie had been peaceful by nature, preferring exploration and discovery over conquest. Their technology had been designed to heal and protect, not to destroy. But their very existence had been perceived as a threat by the Dominion, whose expansionist policies brooked no competition. Trust did not come easily to Elira. Every movement Marcus made was met with suspicion, every question regarded as potentially hostile. Yet there was something about his genuine fascination with her people's history that intrigued her. She watched as he carefully documented the ruins, his hands trembling with excitement as he uncovered new artifacts. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to lower her defenses. Their communication evolved from cautious mental exchanges to more fluid conversations. Marcus learned that Elira possessed an innate ability to interface with her people's technology, her very essence capable of awakening dormant systems. In return, he shared his knowledge of human history, drawing parallels between their civilizations that helped bridge the gap between species. The ruins themselves seemed to respond to their growing bond, ancient mechanisms humming to life as if sensing the possibility of renewal. One day, while exploring a particularly well-preserved section of the ruins, Marcus stumbled upon a strange device embedded in the wall. It resembled a crystalline orb, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as he approached. "What is this?" he asked, turning to Elira. She hesitated, then stepped closer, her hand hovering above the orb. "It's a memory core," she explained, "a repository of knowledge. My people use them to preserve their history and culture." "Do you think it still works?" Marcus asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Elira nodded. "If we can activate it, We might learn more about what happened here. She placed her hand on the orb, and it immediately began to glow, casting the chamber in a soft, ethereal light. Images flickered in the air around them, scenes of bustling cities, towering spires, and skies filled with ships. Marcus watched in awe as the holographic projections unfolded, revealing glimpses of a civilization at its peak. But then the images shifted, showing destruction on an unimaginable scale. Planets burning, cities crumbling, and countless lives extinguished in an instant. Alira closed her eyes, her face contorted with pain. "I'm sorry," Marcus said quietly. "I didn't mean to." "It's all right," she interrupted, opening her eyes. "These are memories I carry with me every day. But seeing them again, it reminds me of what's at stake." The breakthrough came when Marcus discovered a chamber deep beneath the main complex. Its walls were covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with an otherworldly light. Alira froze upon entering, her glow intensifying as recognition dawned. "This is a Genesis vault," she whispered mentally, her voice filled with awe. "Here lies the core of our people's knowledge." Together, they worked to decipher the complex security protocols, their combined skills proving complementary. Marcus's analytical approach balanced by Alira's intuitive understanding of her people's technology. As they delved deeper into the vault's contents, a disturbing pattern emerged. Historical records revealed that humanity's own expansion into space had been guided by Dominion agents, manipulating human governments and corporations to serve their purposes. The Valkyrie hadn't fallen solely to the Dominion's superior firepower. They had been betrayed by unwitting human proxies who had delivered crucial intelligence about their defensive systems. Marcus struggled to process this revelation. He had always believed humanity's achievements in space exploration were the result of ingenuity and perseverance. To learn that they had been manipulated by an alien empire was both humbling and horrifying. "We didn't know," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "If we had known." "But you didn't," Alira replied, her tone harsher than usual. "And that's the problem. Your species blindly follows whoever promises power and progress, without questioning the cost." Marcus wanted to argue, to defend his people, but he couldn't deny the truth of her words. Humanity's history was riddled with examples of exploitation and betrayal, both within their own ranks and toward others. "Then help us do better," he pleaded. "Teach us how to break free from their influence." Alira studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Finally, she nodded. "Perhaps that's why we were brought together," she said softly. "To ensure that neither of our peoples makes the same mistakes again." The revelation tore at their tentative alliance. Alira withdrew into herself, her glow dimming as memories of her people's destruction resurfaced. Marcus found himself questioning everything he thought he knew about human history and progress. Were their greatest achievements truly their own, or merely tools given to them by their unseen puppet masters? The implications were staggering. Centuries of technological advancement potentially tainted by Dominion influence. But amidst the turmoil, a new understanding began to form. Alira realized that Marcus represented a different path for humanity, one that sought knowledge and understanding rather than conquest. Marcus, in turn, saw in Alira not just a victim of past atrocities, but a guardian of wisdom that could help humanity break free from its invisible chains. Their shared anger at the Dominion became a foundation upon which they could rebuild their trust. Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to catalog the contents of the Genesis Vault. Each discovery brought new insights into Valkyrie culture and technology, as well as further evidence of the Dominion's insidious influence. Marcus marveled at the sophistication of their engineering, particularly their use of harmonic resonance to manipulate matter and energy. It was a far cry from humanity's brute force methods, which relied heavily on raw power and destructive capability. Alira, meanwhile, found herself increasingly drawn to Marcus's relentless curiosity and dedication. Despite his species' flaws, he genuinely seemed to care about uncovering the truth and using it to build a better future. She began to see him not as a representative of humanity's failures, but as a symbol of its potential. One evening, as they rested in a quiet corner of the vault, Marcus turned to Alira. "Do you think we can stop them?" he asked. "The Dominion, I mean." Alira considered the question for a moment. "Alone, no," she admitted. "But together, perhaps we can find a way." As they explored further into the vault, they discovered something that took their breath away, the prototype of a weapon system called the Resonance Cascade. Unlike conventional weapons designed for destruction, this device operated on principles of harmonic frequency manipulation. It could disrupt the molecular bonds of matter without the collateral damage associated with traditional warfare. But activating it would require both Alira's unique abilities and Marcus's understanding of theoretical physics. The complexity of the task before them was daunting. Ancient interfaces needed to be translated, power systems brought back online, and safety protocols established. Each step forward revealed new challenges, but also strengthened their partnership. They developed a rhythm of work and rest, teaching each other about their respective cultures during breaks. Marcus introduced Alira to human music, while she showed him how to perceive the universe through vibrations and energy patterns. Their progress was slow but steady. With each successful test, the resonance cascade grew more stable, its potential becoming increasingly apparent. Marcus couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the elegance of Valkyrie engineering. It was as if every component had been designed with both functionality and beauty in mind. Alira, for her part, found herself growing more hopeful. For so long, she had believed her people's legacy was doomed to fade into obscurity. But now, working alongside Marcus, she began to see a future where the Valkyrie could rise again, not as conquerors, but as guides and protectors. The Dominion's arrival came sooner than expected. Massive warships descended from orbit, their dark forms blotting out the already dim sunlight. Ground forces deployed with military precision, surrounding the ruins with weapons that hummed with deadly potential. Alira immediately recognized their technology. It bore the unmistakable signature of her people's designs, twisted and corrupted by Dominion engineers. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. The very weapons threatening their lives were based on Valkyrie innovations. With time running out, they implemented a desperate plan. Using restored sections of the harmonic network, they created localized interference fields that confused Dominion sensors. Marcus's knowledge of human tactical patterns proved invaluable in predicting the invaders' movements, while Alira's ability to manipulate energy fields provided unexpected defensive capabilities. Their resistance was holding, but they both knew it was only a matter of time before the Dominion overwhelmed them. As the battle raged outside, Marcus and Alira focused on completing the final preparations for the resonance cascade. Every second counted, and they worked with a feverish intensity, their movements synchronized as if they had rehearsed them 1,000 times. In the heart of the chaos, they made a crucial discovery. Hidden within the resonance cascade's programming was a fail-safe mechanism, a self-replicating algorithm that could spread through any system using Valkyrie technology. When activated, it would essentially reprogram corrupted devices back to their original specifications, effectively neutralizing the Dominion's stolen weapons. But there was a catch. Initiating the process required someone to remain behind to maintain the harmonic resonance until completion. Alira volunteered immediately, but Marcus refused to let her sacrifice herself. Their argument became heated, each trying to convince the other of their responsibility to survive. In the end, they reached a compromise that neither was entirely comfortable with. They would activate the cascade together, then use a modified escape pod to leave before the final sequence initiated. It was risky, but it gave them both a chance to survive. The activation sequence was a symphony of light and sound, colors dancing across the chamber as ancient systems came alive for the first time in millennia. Alira stood at the central console, her body glowing brighter than ever as she channeled her people's energy into the cascade. Marcus worked furiously at auxiliary stations, monitoring the spread of the harmonic wave through Dominion systems. One by one, their weapons faltered, their ships' engines sputtered, and their communications failed. But something unexpected happened. The harmonic wave didn't just disable Dominion technology. It resonated with latent Valkyrie systems across the planet, waking ancient machines from their long slumber. The ruins around them transformed, revealing new chambers, hidden passages, and long-buried treasures of knowledge. It was as if the planet itself was coming back to life, responding to the touch of its rightful heir. As the last of the Dominion forces retreated, Marcus and Alira found themselves standing amidst a transformed landscape. Where once there had been ruins, now stood a city reborn, its towers gleaming with restored vitality. Alira walked through the streets, tears streaming down her luminous face as she touched familiar structures that had existed only in her memories. For the first time, Marcus understood the true depth of what she had lost and what she might now regain. Yet with the restoration came a bittersweet realization. Alira's place was here, among the reawakened remnants of her people. She could feel the call of her heritage stronger than ever, a pull toward destiny that Marcus couldn't share. They spent their remaining time together documenting everything they had discovered, creating records that would preserve this moment for future generations of both their species. Their final days together were filled with quiet moments and unspoken understanding. Marcus helped Alira establish basic systems for maintaining the resurrected city, while she taught him how to access and interpret Valkyrie knowledge. They created a database that could be understood by both humans and Valkyrie, ensuring that their collaboration would continue to benefit both species long after their separation. The experience had changed them both profoundly. Marcus no longer saw himself as merely an archaeologist, but as a bridge between civilizations, while Alira had evolved from sole survivor to caretaker of a renewed legacy. On their last night together, they stood atop the highest tower, watching twin moons rise over the rejuvenated city. The air was filled with harmonics. The city itself seemed to be singing, its melody carrying notes of both sorrow and hope. Marcus wanted to say something meaningful, something that would capture the magnitude of their journey together, but words failed him. Instead, they simply held each other's gaze, communicating through the connection they had forged. The departure was harder than either had anticipated. Marcus boarded his ship, looking back at Alira standing alone on the platform. She raised her hand in farewell, her glow pulsing in a pattern he now recognized as their shared language. Until we meet again. As his ship ascended, he watched through the viewport as the city below continued its transformation, ancient mechanisms unfolding like flowers seeking the light. The coordinates she had given him led to other Valkyrie sites across the galaxy, places where similar awakenings might occur with proper guidance. Back on Earth, Marcus became an advocate for interspecies cooperation, using his experiences to argue against humanity's blind pursuit of technological advancement without understanding its origins. His reports sparked debates throughout the scientific community, forcing many to confront uncomfortable truths about human history and the stars. Meanwhile, data from Alira's world began yielding breakthroughs in sustainable technology, medicine, and energy production. Months later, Marcus received an encrypted message containing coordinates and a single word in Valkyrie script: home. Following the trail, he discovered another site awakening under Alira's guidance. She had grown stronger, her abilities expanding as she connected with more of her people's restored systems. Together, they established protocols for controlled awakenings, ensuring that each resurrection of Valkyrie technology was done safely and with respect for its purpose. Their partnership evolved into something deeper than friendship, two experts in their fields, working together to heal the scars of galactic history. Other species began taking notice of their work. Some approached with hostility, fearing the resurgence of a supposedly extinct power. Others came seeking knowledge, hoping to learn from the Valkyrie-Human alliance. Through it all, Marcus and Alira stood firm in their mission to prevent the mistakes of the past from repeating. They became living proof that even the deepest wounds of history could be healed through understanding and cooperation. Years passed, and the legend of the Human Valkyrie Alliance grew. Ruins that had sat silent for millennia began speaking again, their voices carrying wisdom desperately needed in a galaxy still scarred by conflict. Marcus aged, but Alira remained unchanged, her lifespan tied to the harmonic field of her people's technology. They both knew their time together was limited, but they made every moment count, documenting their discoveries and preparing future generations to carry their work forward. In his final days, Marcus returned to the first ruin where they had met. Alira was there waiting, her glow as radiant as ever. They didn't need words anymore. Their bond transcended language, species, and time. As he looked up at the stars one last time, Marcus knew their story would inspire others to seek connection rather than conquest, understanding rather than fear. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but some lessons were universal. That even in the face of extinction, hope could be reborn, that enemies could become allies, and that sometimes the greatest discoveries weren't about technology or artifacts, but about the connections we forge across the stars. Remember to subscribe for more stories of cosmic wonder and interstellar adventure.